What's good tonight, folks? It's your man Donald King. How y'all feeling? You good? Hopefully you're good. I'm all right. Maybe not so all right. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. The other day, I lied about something. It's last week. I lied to my ex-wife. It wasn't even a reason to do it. It was information I volunteered. It was information I volunteered, and I was dishonest about something. It was something she had asked me if I had done some months ago, so as to make sure I'm good on the legal end of stuff. And in the middle of divulging things that I had done, I said I checked on something that I didn't check on. And that was dishonest. And the very second I did it, it felt disgusting. I couldn't even get the words out right. I'm so used to being honest these days that I couldn't even get the words out right. I started stuttering and stammering, and I couldn't make eye contact, and I broke into a cold sweat. And the reason why I mentioned that is because that was like a precursor to a couple of different things where I found myself being less than above the board. And that's problematic. The thing that protects me in what I do now is honesty. Like this entity I'm hosting. Imagine it taking me on this raft out into the middle of the ocean. You have no idea where the shoreline is. And the only thing you can trust for navigation is the thing that got you there this far, or thus far. And it does not cooperate, and you cannot hear it, and you cannot communicate with it when you're dishonest. And I had a moment where I was dishonest. And I've been so used to being honest for so long that when I had this moment, it immediately felt disgusting. It immediately felt disgusting, so much so that I wanted to double back and tell her, oh no, my bad. And the only reason why I did it, and just continuing in the vein of honesty here, is because through the time that we were together, any information she could get to, I don't know, use as a weapon to give me a hard time and to sort of like try and cast aspersion on me, it just becomes annoying after a while. You know what I'm saying? And I didn't feel like going through it. I didn't feel like dealing with the headache. So I just divulged some information I didn't have to in efforts to avoid a headache. But I was being dishonest. And immediately I felt the repercussions. I felt how disgusting it was to just be like, yo, something that isn't consistent with reality. It felt wild. I did not like it. And I told you, as the days progressed, I found myself doing a couple of other things that were under the board, where the slick little things that you do to sort of skirt around, confrontation. It was, I caught myself and I'm like, yo, this is not cool. This is not cool. I gotta be brave enough to face shit head on and deal with blowbacks. But I'll be honest, even more honest in saying sometimes you just get tired of dealing with all the bullshit that comes along with this role, man. You get tired of all the insecure, little weak, cowardly sons of bitches just always gunning for you because they want to feel superior because you make them feel insecure. It takes a lot of energy, and some days you just don't have it in you. Instead of snapping on people, or burning bridges and shit like that. Sometimes it's just easier to just say something to send them the other way. That's not being consistent with reality. So yeah. And next time I see her, I'm going to apologize and take ownership of what I did. And it was something so small, so insignificant. But still, I did it. And own up to it. You know, I've shot podcasts on the subject of why honesty is so important before. And a lot of it has to do with mental health. Like, just think about it in terms of like Alzheimer's. You don't want to develop Alzheimer's. You don't want to overload your apperception, the machinery up there, by carrying too many secrets and by overworking it, by trying to maintain too many lies. You burn your brain out that way. You burn your brain out experiencing cognitive dissonance whenever you're trying to preserve a story over recognizing and syncing up with reality. You burn your brain out. You drive yourself literally insane by misusing it. When you're honest and you're synced up with reality, it's kind of like I don't know, doing yoga, for lack of a better expression. Like, imagine, you know, when you're like carrying secrets and you're lying and all these other things. It's like a form of combat. It's like a form of combat. And in this form of combat, you're going in, damaging your body. Damaging your body, right? When you sync back up with reality, though, it's like you are stretching out your mind, and it's like you're eating proper and drinking plenty of fluids and having proper bowel movements, and you're getting back to the natural state and condition of things so that your body is strengthened. This is the same way it works when you're being honest. You're strengthening your mind. When you're reasoning and you're honest, you're strengthening your mind, so that it can retain elasticity and be able to problem solve on complex levels. Reasoning and honesty. This is what it does for you. Right? And when you lie, it's basically like damaging your body. You know what I'm saying? It's very much like what humans do for sports. You do it for reasons to either protect and defend yourself, a la fighting, or you do it because you want to look impressive, a la trying to pull off a stunt or do some sort of extreme sport like parkour or gymnastics or skateboarding or sledding or some shit like that. I don't know. But you damage yourself. You damage your mind when you lie. But that's one of the reasons why I was talking about it in previous podcasts. There's another reason why you want to focus on being honest more importantly, and that is because honesty and reasoning together, when you use these, they sync you up with reality. But when they sync you up with reality, what they in essence do is help you develop your faculty of intuition, right? Intuition is a sensory faculty. It's essentially kind of like an invisible umbilical cord that connects you to reality. And when it connects you to reality, what it does is it expands your sphere of awareness from beyond the mortal coil. So when your intuition is intact, you're sort of synced up to reality as a system. And you gain, as Lionel from the Thundercats would say, sight beyond sight. So everyone is telling you to step right, and you were like, no, I'm going left. Left feels right. And what most people think, they think intuition is some hokey pokey, like, you know, Erykah Badu. I love Erykah Badu. It's like they think it's some sort of moonchild bullshit. No, it's a sensory faculty. It expands your awareness beyond perceptibility. You understand where to go and how to move. I did a podcast on the subject of flow state, wherein you're in flow state. It's an overlap of surrender and discipline, and you can refer to surrender as honesty and discipline as reasoning, and in that you achieve flow state. And flow state is intuition. You learn how to move like through wormholes in reasoning, and through like a higher, you get to see through a higher perspective the landscape surrounding you, so that you can make decisions that don't necessarily make sense in the way of what can be measured from your experiential vantage point, but in the grand scheme of things work out best. The more you practice reasoning and honesty, that is, the more you practice discipline and surrender, is the more you achieve flow state, and or you expand your awareness, your sphere of awareness, and or your intuition. Right? And forgive me, sometimes I'm going to stumble as I say things because I'm reading principles in real time, so translation sometimes gets a little sketchy, but you understand that, so I'll just repeat it again. When you practice reasoning and honesty, they result in a higher and a stronger, a higher level of, and or a stronger faculty of intuition, just like when you practice discipline and surrender, you have intuitive guiding through whatever medium you happen to be expressing through. It's all mechanical, folks. All mechanical. But the reason why I mention this is because intuition is your connection to reality. When intuition is telling you to step right, have you practiced enough reasoning and honesty to know to trust intuition? Or would you trust authority instead of intuition? Would you trust what's coming down the human pipeline over what's coming to you directly from reality itself? I've seen a lot of people lately shirk intuition and trust authority over intuition. Intuition says don't do something. Enough social pressure comes around, all of a sudden they fold. They fold and go with men over reality. That's when you know you can't trust yourself. Which goes back to the point of why I must maintain honesty at all times. I am in no man's land. I have a life experience that I have nothing to compare to. This isn't paint by numbers for me. Every day I'm caught off guard with something new. Just when I think I'm fucking up, I'm doing great. And when I think I'm doing great, I'm fucking up. But learning. In order for me to keep my mind, I have to stay honest. I have to admit when things are right, when they feel right and they feel wrong. I have to admit when something is bothering me and when it's overlookable. This entity performing through me It primarily communicates with me through my faculty of intuition. And when I'm not honest and when I'm not reasoning, my faculty of intuition is diminished, thereby closing off communication between me and the entity that's guided me to this point. What you in the Christian faith system refer to as Holy Ghost or Holy Spirit. So I have to stay honest. I have to stay honest. Honesty doesn't win you a lot of friends. Honesty does not win you a lot of friends. More importantly, it holds you accountable even when you don't want it to. I've been getting rid of more and more people who show up on my posts just trying to be subversive, trying to humble me, cowardly ideologues, trying to use like as a weapon, trying to undermine, devalue, derail what I'm saying. People I've known for a long time, people I've considered close friends, even people who are family members, cutting you off. If you don't want to learn how to manage your bullshit and you want to make what I'm doing about you and your vanity, there's no room for you in my life. There's no room for me in your comfort bubble, and there is no room for you in my honesty. It's not. Not to flex or anything, but I mean, if you let your bad attitude, your vanity drag you into a contest with something that has the power to strike in ways that don't heal, that's on you. It's kind of like, I don't know, dancing on the edge of the building because you're a daredevil. And kind of like, yeah, I'll never fall, I'll never die. All of a sudden that gust of wind comes and pushes you over. And you fall to your death. Who's to blame? Is it the building's fault that you were dancing on the ledge full of yourself? Is it the wind's fault for blowing, even though in order for it to be strong enough to blow you off the ledge of a building, it had to be picking up momentum from miles and miles and miles away? Or is it your fault for playing like a goddamn idiot on something or against something that was incredibly dangerous, all because you were feeling yourself? Reality doesn't forgive vanity. It doesn't forgive human arrogance. It does not forgive any of these things. You bring those things to the entity performing through me, and it's going to obliterate you without question and without leniency in the worst way imaginable, and you will feel every piece of what's coming to you just for letting your pride run the show. Now, if you are practiced in reasoning and practiced in honesty, your intuition should lead you to understand that I'm telling the absolute truth here. Reasoning should say, hey, you know what? Nothing ever justifies me in being a dick to anybody at all. Honesty would be you saying, hey, this guy makes me feel insecure and uncertain, and instead of approaching him in a brave way, I've decided to act like a coward and sort of lash out indirectly. But cowardice, it gets rewarded by reality in the worst way imaginable. The worst way imaginable. And the funny thing about it is, if you practice being honest, you would have already figured out what your beef is and how to rectify it. If you're honest, you would have come with deeper questions. You would have wanted to understand. I asked this question a couple of days ago. I said and I'm going to have to paraphrase it. As a matter of fact, you know what? I could probably just pull it up. Well, no, I don't want to go away from this page because it's like I don't want to end the broadcast, and I don't know how Facebook works in that way. We'll see. But ultimately, the question that I asked was, what did I ask? If an extraterrestrial landed here, or was here on Earth, and you had the opportunity to interact with them, the only problem was the extraterrestrial looked just like you, was fundamentally indistinguishable from human. But you could tell by the things that they said and how they performed that they weren't from around here. How would you approach? How would you proceed? Would you waste a bunch of time, energy, and effort trying to force them to accept the fact that they were nothing different than you? Even though you could, just based on observing the things that they said and how they process information and reality, tell that they were different from anything you had ever encountered before. Would you waste all your time trying to make them know that they were just like you and or no different from or superior to you? Or would you ask deeper questions and try to understand them better and gain knowledge? And the couple of places where I posted this, people are like, oh, I would ask deeper questions. I'd want to know. Yet no, y'all are out here dealing with a full-on avatar. Something that's been explaining to you what it is and performing consistently above, beyond, and in spite of all of your belief systems and your knowledge systems, and outperforming them consistently. And all most of you have done is showed up, trying to fight, trying to compete, trying to dominate. Even though something is notedly different from you and has consistently demonstrated an ability to outperform you. And I think I framed it all with the question, which would have the floor in your mind? Your reasoning or your pride? Most of you don't know how to put your pride down long enough to be honest. Because you can't put your pride down long enough to be honest, guess what? You experience cognitive dissonance anytime you come across something that doesn't reflect your inner story back to you. Anytime you encounter something that invalidates the story you tell yourself about the world around you and your place and value within it, immediately your brain short circuits and you get angry and aggressive, and the only thing you want to do is attack and make it go away, or defeat it and subdue it. As such, you have no faculty of intuition. You can't tell reality from your inner story because they bleed together in your mind, and as such, it's like you don't understand what's coming over the horizon. You have to rely on authority. You have to rely on instruments and formulas and things of that nature. You have to, because you don't have intuition. You don't have a faculty of intuition. Like even extraterrestrials have a higher level of intuition than you all do. It's wild. But gotta be honest, man. Gotta be honest. You gotta be honest. That's the only way to develop your intuition. Honesty is the only thing that develops intuition. I've been getting rid of people. Just being honest with myself, I've been getting rid of people who come around just trying to be disruptive and subversive. I say they serve no purpose to me. And anytime I see someone who just shows up trying to be contrarian, trying to be combative, I give them a chance, but when I realize that they're not trying to understand and they're not trying to learn, I get rid of them. Like if you don't want to change your coding, if you don't want to sync up with reality, and instead you want to drag me into your belief systems and or sort of invalidate truth so as to preserve your belief system and the shared belief systems that you cohabitate with others, you gotta go. You're fighting against reality now. Reality is trying to speak through a function of itself, performing through a human host, and you're competing against reality because of your fucking pride? You've gotta go. You gotta go. Gotta go. And you're gonna catch that fade on the back end too. Pride will get you in trouble, man. Look at you. Most of y'all practice pride every day. You practice being prideful every fucking day. You don't practice being honest at all. Do you know there are people who've gone their entire lives without being honest about anything at all? That's what a narcissist is. A narcissist is a compulsive liar. They're a person who operates exclusively by and according to their inner sense, their inner story, and thus their inner sense of justice. They think that it is their sovereign right to live and benefit at the expense of others. And it is justified through their vanity. It's justified through their vanity. You show up trying to compete against me, you're not trying to understand me. You're trying to dominate me so as to edify yourself. You show up trying to make me and what I'm doing about you, you're gone. You serve no purpose. And it's going to be really bad for you once we're out of these bodies. It's going to be the fucking worst, and you will have earned it. Because no one makes you be a dick. The only thing that can make you be a dick is your pride. That's it. Your pride. You choose your pride over reality. You'll pay. You choose authority over reality. You will pay. Choose men over reality. You will pay. Choose society over reality. You will pay. Dearly. And the more you do in service to corruption, via society and via the words of men, it's the more you're going to have to pay. You have to pay for every imbalance you cause and contribute to, and more importantly, for the level of corruption you nurture and harbor within yourself. None of this shit is free. And the reason why I started the video in the way that I did is because I wanted you all to know. I wanted to make it abundantly clear. In my state of honesty, the other day I lied. The other day I lied, and it felt disgusting to give corruption even that little modicum of power in me. And I actually traced it back, and it's like I was having to think through some business deals. And in thinking through the business deals, I had to think sort of exploitively and tried to think fairly, but also in terms of keeping my business entity afloat. And then all of a sudden, just this thinking in that way, it nudged me back into a mind state where all of a sudden I was suggestible to this thing. Oh, it's easy. Oh, it's not that bad. Avoid the conflict. Nah, man. Gotta be honest. Gotta be honest. I often wonder how I do on these podcasts. I have no idea. When I'm in flow state, everything flows. I'm just reading principles in real time and sort of interlacing the principles with life experiences and things of that nature. I have no idea which podcast is good and which one is bad. So it's like, I do what I can to stay dialed in, but when you read in principles, it's kind of like, it's literally like being inside the matrix where you see all these ones and zeros. Imagine trying to describe an entire city in binary. Kind of like, man, where to start? Okay, so, I mean, there's like some ground here, and then it's like, it's not ground, it's like concrete, but over there is like different kind of concrete. So this is like asphalt, and that's like cement concrete. And then over there next to cement concrete, it's like it's got some divisions and some grass. When I'm describing these things, it's never a question of whether or not I'm going to make sense. It's always a question of how well I captured and conveyed the principles through the English language, or transformed them into English. But what I'm going to say is always going to be spot on. Just my conveyance may leave something to be desired. But yeah, guys, you have to practice honesty. It'll save your mind. It'll save your life. It'll save your soul. And I'm sure that I talked about this in other podcasts, especially the ones that were on the specific subjects of intuition and on the subjects of honesty. And I definitely had to circle back to it today. I had to circle back to it today because I caught myself in a lie. And I will say this. One of the best feelings I've experienced within the last couple months was what came after I felt disgusting from lying, was how grateful I felt to have that level of disgust at being dishonest. It felt good to know that that shit doesn't have a home in me. It doesn't. So much so that I throw myself under the bus tonight because it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. What a day. So yeah. Yeah. Good times, guys. I might actually cut this one short. I'll keep it a buck. I don't even know. My God, I got a lot of stuff to do. Life is weird, man. My life is weird. It's weird. I mean, I know that you guys don't get this. I know that you can't get this because my experience is my experience, but I've never seen anything like this before. And I'm legit trying to figure out, how does this work? Like, what? I hope y'all all doing good out there. Gotta stay honest, guys, even when it's difficult. It builds you up. It makes you strong. Sometimes, and I'm not going to say that it's a hard rule, because you don't... I don't want to get it into an ideal thing. It's kind of like being vegan. Now, most days I'm vegan. There are days I break down and I have some fish. There are days when I have some fish. I had some fish today. I want a dense protein. And when I went vegan, I started getting like super lean. And, it's like I felt like I got a little too lean. So, I just started, I haven't had a chance to really get into sort of dense vegan proteins and things of that nature. And I want to try and do whole foods as much as I can, like not the store, but real foods, not things that are transmuted too much. So it's kind of tricky. But getting all of your vitamins and your nutrients and supplements and all that other stuff, sometimes it's kind of tricky. And, it's like I am a transmuted life form, or at least this body is transmuted. And, it does, being parasitic, it does subsist on flesh. So, not that I want to do it often, but every now and again, just to not be lost in the idea, or be lost in veganism as an idea, but more along the lines of eating healthy and trying to care for this vessel as best I can while I'm in it. It's like, every now and again, it's like, just out of recognition for what this body is, I break down and I have a little fish. Even when I was talking with Dr. Sabi, when we were down in Honduras, he was like, every now and again he has some white fish. I was like, yeah, I'll do a little perch every now and again. But yeah, this is what I would liken the vegan diet. I liken that to honesty, in that sometimes you might be in a situation where you have to be dishonest. You know what I'm saying? You might be in a situation where you might have to be dishonest, but you should practice reasoning and honesty so much that you can be honest about, with at the very least with yourself, about when you're being dishonest, so that it's like it doesn't become a de facto state of being. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, hey, I'm in society. I'm in a social circumstance. Because I'm in a social circumstance, there are times that I cannot just wear my heart on my sleeve. I can't be forthright about every single thing. So at least let me not internalize what is happening within me, and be honest with myself and articulate it so that I understand how I'm navigating through this situation. You know what I'm saying? But even when you do that, it's still kind of like me eating a fish. Me eating fish every now and again. It's like, it doesn't feel right all the time. It's like, but you do it because the circumstance requires for it. You're not being guided by an ideal. You're being guided by a higher principle. And yeah, hopefully I said that right. I think I said that right. Yeah. It's not ideal. Sometimes reality just is what it is. But just like being vegan could be likened to remaining in an honest state, you know what I'm saying? And lying could be likened to having a toxic body state from constantly consuming dead flesh. You know what I'm saying? There are going to be times where the only thing available for you to eat is flesh, and you have to choose between maintaining an ideal and surviving. What do? You don't have to like eating the flesh, but you don't have to let your pride lead you to death either. So yeah, man, it's a little bit more complex than just an ideal. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes circumstances, they make you choose to do things that don't feel natural and don't feel right. But you have to choose between your pride in doing what makes the most sense to do. And ironically, the only way for you to get good at knowing the difference between your pride and what feels correct to do and what makes the most sense to do is for you to practice honesty. So it's kind of like if we were likening it to diet again. If you were going to introduce any sort of meat source back into your diet, you'd have to do that after going through a whole body cleanse of raw vegan food, and then all of a sudden, once your body state had kind of cleared out, learning how to remain in a pH, keep your pH level, within a certain range. So knowing that you cannot afford to eat meat often, but every now and again, you might have a piece, you know what I'm saying? Especially if it puts you in a better state and condition, your body in a better state and condition. This is interesting, and it's like I might be reading these principles everywhere, but I started off this video telling you I felt disgusting about how I lied the other day about something I didn't need to, but it's like I'm actually in the middle of this. I'm having some epiphanies like, yo, that's interesting. It's very interesting. Yeah, likening it to diet, that kind of puts things into a different perspective. Not terrible. I got anybody in the audience tonight? Anybody before I log off I can say hey to? Anybody? No? But yeah, the more you practice reasoning and honesty is the more you expand your sphere of intuition. The more you expand your sphere of intuition is the more you gain sight beyond sight. That connects you to reality. Okay? Now, it's like, when you go super clean, sometimes you're going to be super connected to reality, as is the case with me. Problem is, you lose the ability to communicate with people down here. So, this is wonky. It's amazing that I'm working this out in real time. But you get a chance to see me reading the principles in real time. So, what I'm gonna do? Fake it? Nah. But yeah, I'm so used to being honest that it felt disgusting when I was dishonest the other day. But society being what it is, sometimes that is the most reasonable thing to do. Not what feels the best, but most reasonable thing to do. So I'm on the ledge with this one. Jeez. As far as I go, I choose honesty because that makes the most sense. And again, that's my sphere of intuition has to be really high in order to communicate with this entity and in order to hear it and take guidance from it. So, yeah. This is an interesting podcast because it's like for the first time I'm seeing I'm seeing a scenario in which I have to but really examine a body of principles and how they apply to my situation just based on what I am. Human, in a human shell, operating in society. It's interesting. Okay, well, anywho, guys, y'all already know what it is. This is Sorting and Sorting Principles with Donald King. I'm here to do my thing. Guys, I shoot these podcasts every Monday and Wednesday on Facebook Live. You can follow me on Instagram. I'm Avatar Cycle XIII. I also upload these videos to my YouTube channel so that you can check them out at your discretion. And then also I post content to Medium. If you get any sort of benefit out of what I do and you want to donate, you can always join the Patreon family. Again, I'm Avatar Cycle XIII. It's Avatar Cycle 13. And then also you can check me out you can salt bait me with a little bit of love on Cash App at Donna Kang. That's DONNIEKANG. Proceeds go to helping me build things up on this end and get organized so that I can be as effective in this role as I possibly can. I don't know how many years I've got left in this body or what this shell is ultimately going to do in the way of expiration. It seems to be holding up pretty good, but I'm getting old. And as you get older, you never know what new ailment is going to creep around the corner. So, help me get the word out while the getting is good. Yeah, and again, I want to thank you all for tuning in, whoever did tune in. The main thing I want to circle back to is honesty is insanely important. Like, even getting to a point where you realize instances in which dishonesty makes the most sense in order to arrive at that conclusion fairly, you have to be operating from an honest state of mind. So there is no scenario in which you don't first have to go the path of honesty and go deep, 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 deep down the path of honesty, even to get to a point where, you know, you can even start considering or contemplating that dishonesty might be the smarter course of action. I prefer honesty just because that is how I keep my sanity. I think that should be most people's outlook on life. Honesty helps you honesty helps you stay sane. Helps you stay grounded in reality. But you also got to take into consideration, as I obviously got into towards the end of the podcast, working in social circumstances sometimes precludes your, or at least significantly limits your ability to be honest. So, at the very least, you should be operating from an honest mind state at all times, even if in certain social circumstances you are required to maybe not be as forthright as you would otherwise like to be. Guys, I'm signing off. It is your man, Donald King. I am out. Good night.